The Truth About Goblins. Chapter 17. This time Annie was up first. She had left her bedroom that morning, expecting to find Kit's door open and his bed empty, but as she passed by to go downstairs, she could hear him snoring. Worried that she was up too early, she made her way down as quietly as she could, hoping not to disturb anyone else who was sleeping. But to her relief, Ophelia was already at work in the kitchen, and when Annie offered to make pancakes, the mother was thrilled. Only after she had amassed a good plateful did Kit finally come downstairs. "Good morning," he said, still yawning. He looked at the pancakes and frowned. "What's this?" "Pancakes," said Annie. "I was craving them." He picked one up and eyed it suspiciously. "What is it? A floppy cookie?" "You have got to be kidding me." She stared at him. "You don't know what a pancake is?" "It's too early for trick questions," he muttered, taking a bite. His eyes lit up at the taste. "Hey, it's good. You made these?" She rolled her eyes. "No, the boogeyman did." Ophelia came over to the table and grabbed a pancake for herself. "These are tasty. You're a good chef, Annie." "Thanks," she said. "But you're supposed to eat them with maple syrup and whipped cream. Have you got any plates?" Kit jumped up to set the table, preparing an extra place for Cam. "Where is your brother?" asked Ophelia. "He's not still sleeping, is he?" "Betcha a pound of gold that he is," he said, pulling out some syrup from the fridge. "Well," said Annie, watching him set it down, "at least you know what maple syrup is." They took their places around the table and poured the syrup onto their pancakes. Ophelia whipped up some cream to go along with it, and everyone was more than satisfied with the result. "This is really, really good," said Kit. "Thanks, Annie." "You're welcome," she replied. Ophelia grabbed a newspaper from the edge of the table and passed it to Kit. "Did you hear what happened last night? What time did you two get in?" "It wasn't that late," he said, taking the paper. "Why? What is it?" "Front page, the old theater." She had Annie's full attention. "What happened at the old theater?" "Explosion!" exclaimed Kit, staring in disbelief at the paper in his hands. "What happened?" said Annie, reading over his shoulder. Her eyes jumped over the lines, trying to make sense of it. One word caught her attention. "Transgressors." "No way," he said. "What makes them think it was a transgressor attack?" Ophelia shook her head and pointed to the next page. "Someone hid explosives in some crates, they say. When they were digging through the rubble this morning, they pulled apart the pieces and found the apple painted on them." Kit looked to the picture. It was that same symbol, the apple divided in two. "Hey, I've seen that," said Annie. "You said that transgressors use it, right?" "That doesn't prove anything," he muttered. "They're just looking for someone to blame it on. I bet it was an accident or something." "Accident," scoffed Ophelia. "I think not. The whole building collapsed from the inside. Dozens of people were hurt, according to the paper. And there are still some missing." "Missing?" said Annie, looking to Kit. "You don't think—" "Nah." He waved his hand, dropping the paper back on the table. "They're probably fine. What are the chances, anyway?" She stared at her pancakes, silent. Kit was right. Saphira was probably back at the tea shop, safe and sound. But she was too curious to wait. "I'm going to see if they're all right." Without another word, she jumped to her feet and bounded up the stairs. "What the?" Kit eyed the abandoned pancakes. "What about breakfast?" Annie's voice drifted back downstairs. "I have to see if they're okay." "Where is she going?" asked Ophelia. Unconcerned, he took another bite. "Making sure a couple friends got home safe." Gulping down a mouthful of orange juice, he added, "We saw them at the old theater last night." She eyed him disapprovingly. "You had better go with her." He groaned. "I really don't get this kid." But he stood from the table and followed her anyway. By the time he had caught up, she was already halfway down the street. "Chill out, man." She was running, but slowed to a jog as she heard him come up behind her. "Hurry up," she said. "What if something bad happened to them?" "What if?" he repeated. "If something actually happened, it's not like we can do anything. And I mean, come on. I bet they're fine." She said nothing, her mind set on the tea shop across town. Out of breath, the two arrived at Timothy's Teas, only to see Saphira exiting the shop and heading across the street. "Hey, Saphira!" shouted Annie, bolting over. She turned on her heel to meet them. "Oh, hi, Annie." Her hair was bushy as ever, the old white dress swaying around her ankles as she came to a halt. The clock had struck midnight. The magic spell had come to an end. "We heard about what happened at the theater last night," said Annie, panting as she came to a stop. "Did you and Timothy make it out okay?" Oh, yes, we did." She offered a weak smile. "Timothy's a little beat up. He got hurt while we were trying to get out, but I was able to find him once the crowds had cleared." She closed her eyes and sighed. "He was lucky. We both were. He's resting now." "That's a relief," said Annie, relaxing at last. "Yeah," agreed Kit, rather casually. "Good to know everything's okay." Eyeing the hiking boots on Saphira's feet, he frowned. "Where are you off to?" "I'm going to pick up a few things for the shop." There were dark bags under her eyes. She couldn't stop wringing her hands. "I thought I might as well, since Timothy's bedridden for a few more hours." "Are you sure you're all right?" said Annie, relieved to see Saphira but confused by her weary appearance. "What happened last night? We heard a few things from the paper, but we didn't get the details." "The paper pretty much covered everything," she said. "Explosions, fire. They think it was transgressors." She shut her eyes once more. "It was terrible." Annie ignored Kit's skeptical look. "At least you two are okay. When I heard there were people missing," she laughed. "I guess I jumped to conclusions." "Yes, well..." She shifted her weight uncomfortably. "I better get going. Be sure to come by for some tea when Timothy's back on his feet." Annie didn't have the chance to say goodbye before Saphira hurried away. "Well, that was weird." "Yup," said Kit, popping his lips. "Let's go." "Go?" she said. "Go where?" "We're gonna follow Saphira and see what she's up to," he said, as if it was perfectly obvious. "She said she was picking up tea stuff." "That might be what she said, but it wasn't what she was thinking." He patted his chest, where the crystal rested under his shirt. Her jaw dropped. "I can't believe you did that! That's worse than eavesdropping." He smirked. "You saying you don't want to know what she's doing?" "Ugh," she exclaimed. "This isn't going to end well. But okay, what was she actually thinking?" His grin grew wider. "She's looking for something. She kept thinking, I lost it. Sounds like she's in some kind of trouble." "No wonder she was nervous." She pursed her lips in thought. "But why didn't she ask us for help?" "Why do you think we're following her? It's just about time we find out." If Annie hadn't been so curious, she would have scolded Kit once more for being too nosy. But as it happened, she wanted to uncover the mystery just as much as he did. She followed close behind without another word. He turned out to be surprisingly capable at tailing Saphira. She was always within sight, but even though she constantly turned to check for stalkers, he always managed to pull them both out of view just in the nick of time. "She is so up to something," said Annie, getting caught up in their little adventure.
Oh boy,
said Kit, watching Saphira turn off the street. Where's she going?
Downtown,
he said.
Really downtown. Hurry up or we'll lose her.
Entering the darker part of the market, Annie felt as though she was walking through an underground forest, stepping over roots and ducking under branches as they made their way down the street. Squeezed between the trees were the remnants of old buildings, shops and houses that used to be part of town, but now lay abandoned. Once, they may have housed goods for sale or families looking to move in underground. But now the empty shacks served to shelter the orphans of the Goblin Market, the children without a home. Rather than the old buildings, however, Saphira headed for tunnels at the opposite end of the street. Kit pointed ahead as he glimpsed her white dress.
There,
he said, looking towards a small opening in the distance.
She's going into one of the caves.
Annie raised an eyebrow. Caves?
Relax, you big old chicken.
Without wasting a moment, he made his way over.
Kids play hide and seek in there. It's not scary or anything.
I wasn't scared, she said, trotting up beside him. Just cautious. She couldn't help but think back to the conversation they had at the noodle place about the dark mines below the market. But as the two bent down to enter the opening, her anxiety vanished. Kit hadn't been joking when he mentioned that kids played around in the tunnels. Not 5 minutes into the cave, and they were nearly bowled over by a little goblin in a game of tag. Kit grabbed the boy by the shoulders as his pursuer came around the corner.
Yeah, let me go,
screamed the boy, playfully struggling against his grasp. But Kit held firm. A girl with dark pigtails came up and tapped her brother. Tag! She yelled, out of breath and laughing.
No, come on,
complained the boy, shaking off Kit's hands.
Use a cheater, pumpkin eater.
What? She said.
I ain't no cheater. Kit stepped in alls by himself.
Breathing easy once again, she stood to attention.
What you doing here, boss? You want to play some tag? Sort of. We're looking for a girl that came in here a couple minutes ago. She's wearing a white dress and a big old satchel.
And she had blonde hair, added Annie. The boy nodded.
We seen her.
Yep, said the girl. She turned and pointed down another opening that led deeper below ground.
Went that away.
Kit looked at the opening and then back to the two kids.
Are you sure?
Sure as I'm sure, she answered.
You's thinking we don't know what we seen? Sheesh.
She turned to her brother.
Use it now. 10 seconds head start.
And with that, she skittered away. The boy counted to 10, swaying back and forth on his feet with each number.
Wait a second,
said Kit, halting his counting.
Have you heard anything about Jay?
Jay, he said.
Raven's Jay? Yeah, him. He wasn't looking so good the last time I saw him. Any word on how he's doing?
Ain't seen him, ain't heard him. 10 seconds was up. He was already on his way to catch his sister.
Ain't heard too much of the Black Raven either.
With that last remark, the boy ran off. Who's Jay? asked Annie.
A friend, said Kit, looking to the path ahead. Come on, she must have gone this way.
As the two traveled deeper into the tunnels, the light from the market began to fade, replaced by the faint glow of luminous fungi on the rocky walls. There were all sorts of colors, their hues reflecting off the stalactites on the ceiling and the slick stones flanking their path. Luckily, the ground was dry, and once the other goblins had thinned out, the pair could easily identify Saphira's footprints leading straight ahead. But although the inclines were hardly noticeable, the path became steeper the further they walked. Annie could feel it. The distance between them and the market was steadily growing. It became so dark that Kit had to use goblin magic and summon his fireball. Holding the light over his palm, he bent down and examined the tracks.
Really?
He said, mostly to himself.
Where does she think she's going?
Maybe she lost something in the caves, suggested Annie. He pursed his lips in thought, but said nothing, following the footsteps down another steep incline. There were no other goblins around, not anymore. The solitude was beginning to weigh on the two. At last, the tunnels opened to a larger expanse lit by an array of phosphorescent vegetation crawling along the cave's walls. Annie was amazed by the sight, but Kit ignored it as he stooped over more footprints, holding his fireball close to the ground. He looked up, his eyes wandering ahead to a gap in the wall. He sighed.
What is it? She said.
What's wrong now?
I just want to be sure,
he said, making his way towards the small opening.
Sure about what? Where's Saphira going?
She watched as he poked his head through the wall. It was just big enough.
You're not actually going in there, are you? Saphira did,
he said.
I want to find out why.
He extinguished the fireball and crawled through. She peered into the hole.
Are you sure it's really worth it? Get in, you big sissy, or go home. I'll tell you all about it at supper.
Not happening, she said, diving in head first. Kit was there with a helping hand on the other side.
Stay close, he said. It's dark in here.
Thanks, Captain Obvious. It was nearly pitch black by now. She was relieved when he brought his fireball back out. The light from the flame illuminated his smirk.
Not so useless now, eh?
Would have been if we brought a flashlight. In any case, the two were off yet again. There was only one skinny path in sight, only one way Saphira could have gone. It really was dark, but the light from the fireball was a comfort. Its flame flickered back and forth with Kit's movement, sending small rays of light bouncing off the wet sides of the tunnels and illuminating the stalagmites jutting out from the ground. The sudden inclines were easy to spot too, though they would have been hazardous without the fireball in hand.
I hope Saphira brought a light or something, said Annie. She could get hurt down here. Hold up a second.
Kit came to a stop before a chain-link fence.
Looks like we've got a problem.
She pulled up beside him.
Why's there a fence down here?
Stretching across the passage, the chain-link fence seemed to block any and all access to the darkness on the other side. There was a stout gate, locked, with a large sign. It was hard to read in the dim light, but the message was clear.
Danger? What danger?
She looked at Kit.
I thought you said, they're just trying to scare us. Look.
He brought his fireball closer to the sign.
You see, it's just to keep trespassers out of the power plant.
Power plant? She cast a hesitant glance past the fence.
Wait, are you sure?
He was already looking for a way past it.
Where's your sense of adventure? Help me get through.
They followed Saphira's footsteps to an opening at the edge of the fence where the corner had been pulled from the ground. Kit snickered.
Looks like they don't check this tunnel too often.
They both ducked through to the other side, the footprints leading the way. The darkness set Annie on edge, but it was hardly a minute after they had passed the fence that the tunnel started getting brighter. There was light up ahead. Kit extinguished his fireball as they entered a large, light cavern.
Must be near the plant,
he said, looking ahead to a narrow metal bridge.
Come on, I think she went this way.
It looks high, said Annie, eyeing the gap beneath the bridge.
Is this even safe?
He was already halfway across. Determined to stay calm, she followed, her footsteps echoing as she crossed the metal walkway. Before she reached the other end, however, Kit motioned for her to stop. He said nothing, but put a finger to his lips and pointed downwards. Following his gaze, she crouched and looked down into a thick cloud of steam. She stared a long while, trying to find its source. But it was only when the cloud had lifted for a few seconds that she was able to see the lights in the darkness and the tall smokestack stretching up to the ceiling.
Is that the power plant? Quiet!
He looked away as they heard movement beneath them. She looked down too, watching as a group of dark figures approached the plant far below. There was a good handful of them, all headed in the same direction. She wondered who they could be, and what they were doing there. But as the group neared their destination, the lights from the power plant illuminated their robes, and Annie soon recognized them as arbiters. She watched in confusion as they made their way under the bridge and into the cloud of steam.
Arbiters, she thought. Why are they at the power plant?
Without warning, the bridge gave a jolt. She grabbed the railing, the whole cave shaking. But it was hardly a moment. Just as quick as it had come, the quake disappeared. She turned to Kit, eyes wide.
What was that?
Still crouched, he took a deep breath and tried to keep his cool.
Right, the drilling.
He laughed and got to his feet.
What?
Still shaking, she followed suit.
Is this normal too? Earthquakes underground? They're drilling for a new reservoir, he said, continuing across the bridge. Paper said they'd be starting today. I think your mom mentioned it.
She looked below, but the group of strangers had passed out of sight.
Should we be worried?
On solid ground once again, he stooped down and started looking for tracks.
Nah, we get quakes all the time. Not usually that big, but I guess the drilling's gonna shake things up a bit.
He turned his gaze ahead. The tracks led right into another tunnel.
Looks like she went this way. Earthquakes, right, no big deal, she sighed. We better find Saphira soon. Or what?
He summoned his fireball.
You'll turn around and go back? No.
She was at his side in an instant.
It's been a long walk, that's all.
He snickered again.
I could carry you if you're tired.
Ugh! Her voice resounded off the close walls.
Don't make me regret this.
The two made slow work of the tunnel, struggling to keep from falling as the ground continued to slope. It was a steep descent, and the fireball was now the only source of light. It was a relief when the floor leveled out, a cool breeze brushing past them in the dark. Hardly a minute later, they emerged from the tunnel into another cavern. The area reminded Annie of a subway system, with a large, flat floor and a deeper tunnel cutting straight through. Kit jumped down to where the ground fell, looking each way down the massive tunnel. He was greeted by blackness on both his left and right. It seemed endless. Annie followed, but gasped as her foot struck something on the ground. She looked down and examined the metal tracks lining the floor of the tunnel, stretching either way into obscurity. To her, they looked like mini railroad tracks. But it was only a matter of moments before she realized what they were.
The mines! She exclaimed. These are tracks for mine carts, right? I thought these only existed in old movies.
But the intrigue quickly vanished.
Why are we in the mines? Is it safe? Did we go too far? We're not in the mines, said Kit, annoyed. This is just one of the entrances. If we go down the tunnels, then we'll be in the mines.
He glanced around and pointed to his right.
Look, I see a white light. Either we're about to die, or that's Saphira up ahead. Ah!
She saw it too. Put the fireball away. If she turns around, she'll see us. He did as he was told. It was only then that Annie realized how dark it was in the mines. Bad idea, she said. Turn it back on.
I can't. Like you said, she's gonna see us.
In the meantime, we can't see anything.
Relax and keep close.
He took her hand.
Saphir is in sight. I'll warn you if I trip over anything.
I don't like this, she whispered, resisting the urge to grab onto his whole arm. I thought you said there were monsters in the mines.
Don't be a wuss,
he hissed back.
If Saphir is here, it can't be that bad.
What do you mean? Haven't you ever been down here before? He offered no reply, heading towards the light in the distance. It was only when they were approaching the end of the tunnel that he spoke again.
All right, he said. Can't make a sound past this point or she'll hear us. Just focus on the light.
Annie didn't like the situation one bit. She felt that they ought to turn around, go back to the market, and forget about the mines. Her curiosity wasn't enough to keep the anxiety at bay. Kit, however, was too preoccupied to think of turning back. He winced with each of their footsteps, listening as the sound bounced and echoed off the walls of the tunnel. Even the slightest movement seemed loud against the silence. And it was only when the echoing ceased that they realized they had entered another open space. The light ahead of them disappeared as it turned a corner, but Kit knew they were close. He stumbled forward in the dark, expecting to meet Saphira at any moment. But as they themselves turned the corner, the light was nowhere to be seen. Where did it go? Said Annie.
Quiet,
said Kit.
She'll hear us.
The light appeared, sudden, blinding. They screamed and covered their eyes. What on earth are you two doing here? Kit's hands dropped from his face, his eyes meeting Saphira's. She was holding a ball of soft white light in her hands, much like his own fireball, and she did not look at all happy to see them. Dang it, Saphira, said Annie, her heart pounding. You scared the crap out of us. What are you doing here? She repeated. Said Kit, hands on his hips.
We could ask you the same thing. We thought you were picking up some things for the shop, but you didn't mention anything about the mines.
She paused, searching for a reply. I'm collecting plants for tea leaves.
Nice try. What are you really looking for all the way down here?
He stared at her ball of light.
And is that magic? I didn't know you could use magic.
She ignored him and turned away. That's none of your concern. You two better leave now. It's dangerous down here. Annie glared at Kit. You said it wasn't.
Well, not right now, it isn't.
He hurried after Saphira as she continued to the next tunnel.
Hey, where are you going?
Leave me alone, she said, trying her best to ignore him. I'm not looking for company. But why are you all the way down here? Said Annie, bringing up the rear. Maybe we could help you. I don't need help, she said. I'm fine. The three of them stopped. Annie turned as she heard rumbling, the earth shaking beneath her. Something started creaking. She looked down, realizing they weren't standing on solid ground anymore, but a patchwork of old planks. The earthquake sent her staggering backwards, away from the wooden floor. Panicking, she saw the boards collapse. She reached out and grabbed Kit, but Saphira was too far away. She fell with the rotted wood, screaming. Saphira! Cried Annie. The rumbling was over now. She crawled to the edge of the hole. It was too dark to see. For a moment, she feared the worst. But it wasn't long before Saphira summoned her light once again. The fall hadn't been as far as they had thought. I'm all right, she said sullenly. The hole wasn't too deep, and the two managed to climb down past the broken pieces of wood to join her.
"You sure you're okay?"
said Kit, leaning in to assess the damage.
"That was a pretty crazy quake and fall."
"Yes," she said, disappointed in herself. "It's just, I scratched my leg." To say her leg was scratched was an understatement. The mess of blood made it seem worse, but the gash was still long, albeit shallow. Kit stepped closer, taking out his fireball to examine the cut.
"Ooh, lots of blood."
Without hesitating, he pulled off his t-shirt and wrapped it around her leg, cleaning up the wound. Saphira's eyes widened.
Now,
he said.
"I know I'm irresistible without my shirt on, but try to control yourself."
But her eyes were on the crystal around his neck. She reached out and took it in her hands. "Sunistan." He stopped.
"How did you—"
"Where did you get this?" He looked back down at her leg.
"I stole it. A long time ago. Didn't realize what it was until I took it home."
Feeling the weight of her gaze, he shrugged and added,
"It was wrong, I know, but I really had no clue what it was."
She shook her head. "Then you're aware, you understand how valuable, how precious a hearthstone is, correct?"
"I would think so,"
he said, though he seemed uncertain.
Why do you ask?"
"Wait, I'm lost," said Annie, trying to follow. "What did you just ask him? What's, hearthstone thingy?" They ignored her as Saphira continued. "Then, perhaps, I can tell you what I'm looking for." They both gave her their full attention.
"What is it?"
said Kit. There was a moment of hesitation as she weighed her thoughts. "The white hearthstone." Turning back to Kit, she added, "Moderstan."
"Hearthstone chaos,"
he continued, quickly understanding.
"You're looking for one of the 3 crystals."
He sighed.
"That explains all the secrecy."
"What is it?" said Annie, still confused. "What's this crystal thing you're talking about?"
"Can I explain?"
he asked. Saphira nodded. He turned to Annie and answered,
"Hearthstone chaos is a crystal, kind of like the one I'm wearing now."
"So you're looking for a mind-reading crystal?"
"Not exactly," he said. "The way I understand it, this crystal lets you see into another person's memories."
He turned back to Saphira.
"At least, that's what I heard."
"Essentially, yes," she said. "A single touch would grant the wearer a look into someone's past as they remember it. In a matter of moments, it could potentially reveal a person's greatest strength or weakness." Her shoulders slumped. "It's a dangerous weapon in the wrong hands." Just a few days ago, Annie wouldn't have believed it. A magic crystal that could open another person's memories? It was crazy. But if there was one thing she learned in the brief time she had spent in the market, it was that nothing was too crazy to be impossible. Not underground, anyway. "So, what makes you think this crystal is way down here?" she asked. "I don't think it's down here," said Saphira. "I know it is." She covered her face with her hands. "I lost it."
"That's a remarkable bummer,"
said Kit, examining his bloodied t-shirt.
"How did you lose it in the mines?"
"The cord was torn," she said, ashamed. "It fell off my neck while everyone was trying to escape the theater last night." She took a deep breath and looked to the ceiling. "I have to find the place where the mines open upwards, where the bridge crosses over the chasm. That's where I dropped it." "I don't know, Saphira," said Annie. "You shouldn't be down here by yourself. What about Timothy? Can't you ask him for help? He said he's been to the mines before, right?" "No," she said, resolute. I can't let Timothy know about this. He doesn't know that I have the crystal. It's important that I keep it a secret. But why? She said. Why can't you let him know? Why can't you let anyone know?
Weren't you listening?
Said Kit.
It's not just a necklace, it's a weapon. It's dangerous. The fewer that know about it, the better.
He turned back to Saphira's leg. The bleeding had stopped, but the cut looked delicate and vulnerable.
Want me to kiss it better?
Annie rolled her eyes, but gasped as Saphira reluctantly held out her leg and said, Yes, if you could.
What are you doing?
She exclaimed, watching Kit's lips travel over the wound. Saliva, said Saphira, looking away to keep from being disgusted. Goblin saliva has strong healing properties for humans. Seriously, said Annie, cringing as she watched him wet his lips and go over the cut a second time. That's just gross.
Who cares?
Said Kit, bringing his face away from her leg.
As long as it works, right?
Thanks, said Saphira, though her gratitude seemed half-hearted. I should probably wrap it up in something.
Here,
he said, tearing his t-shirt into strips.
It's too bloody for me to use anyway.
He stooped down and began to wrap up the gash. Saphira was unable to protest before he had the whole cut bound and ready to go. Thank you, she said quietly. Kit didn't have a shirt, but thanks to his handiwork, Saphira was able to continue. Back on her feet, she glanced around, waving her light to examine their whereabouts. I think it's this way, she said, turning down another tunnel. Kit didn't argue, but Annie wasn't at all enthusiastic. So you fall, rip your leg open, and then keep going? Shouldn't you be thinking this one through? I'm not leaving until I get it back, she said. You two don't have to come if you don't want to.
Heck, I'd never hear the end of it,
said Kit, fireball in hand.
Besides, I want to see this crystal up close.
Are you guys serious? Said Annie. Or are you just crazy? It's really nothing to see, said Saphira, ignoring her. It's like yours, only white. It'll glow when we get close to it, so keep an eye out. Annie sighed. This isn't going to end well. But she followed them anyway, keeping close to her friends as they made their way deeper into the mines. Hey, hi, I'm your narrator, Miranda Eastwood, also the author of The Truth About Goblins. If you liked this chapter, remember to add, follow, or subscribe to this channel so you can hear the next one. And if you didn't like this chapter, oh well, I can't really do anything about that. In any case, I just thought I'd let you know about my Patreon. You can check it out if you'd like to throw some support my way. It would mean a lot to me. Not to mention there's loads of extra exclusive content that I only post on Patreon. While I'm at it, I'll mention that The Truth About Goblins is now available as a complete audiobook, and you can get it wherever you get your audiobooks. Thanks for listening.